Hi, this is the second video in a series of videos that we're doing looking at different approaches to playing blues. What we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at chord tones. That is to say, we're going to examine the chords that we're playing over in a blues. Usually there's only three in its simplest form. We're going to take a look at those chord tones, and we're going to take an approach whereby we use arpeggios to improvise over the blues. Okay. So let's take a look at the chords in the blues. If it's a simple A blues, we've got three chords in there. We've got an A dominant 7, we've got a D dominant 7, and we've got an E dominant 7. So A7, D7 and E7. So they're all the same type of chords, and that makes our life a little bit easier. Okay. So what is a dominant 7th chord? Well, a dominant 7th chord is basically a triad, or 1, 3, 5, the root, the major third and the fifth, and on top of that we have the dominant 7 or the minor 7th. In the key of C, that would be C, E, G and B flat. So C the root, E the third, G the fifth and B flat the dominant 7. Put those together and you've got a C7th chord. Yeah. So what that gives us is an arpeggio of root, third, fifth, seventh, root, third, fifth, seventh. Okay. Okay. So, what can we do with that? Well, for a start, we can learn those. We need to learn those arpeggios. Like any scale, or most scales on the guitar, any scale you can learn in 5 positions on the neck. Okay, so what we're going to do is learn all our arpeggios, all our dominant 7th arpeggios. We're going to do this in the key of F sharp, because I want to avoid using open strings. It doesn't matter that it's F sharp, it's just that I want you to learn the patterns. So the first pattern is here: root, major third, fifth, dominant 7, root, major third, fifth, dominant 7, roots. The next pattern is up here, starting at the 4th fret, 4th string, 4th fret. Then the next pattern, starting on the what's that? The 9th fret. Starting on the same note this time. And lastly, okay, and then you're back to the first one again up there, and then the pattern repeats. So there are all our dominant 7th arpeggios. You need to get those under your fingers, because you do. You've got to be thorough about anything you learn, so learn everything as well as you possibly can. So there you go, there are our dominant 7th arpeggios. What I'm going to do, for the purposes of this, I'm going to move this up and I'm going to play in the key of A. So we've got A7th, D7th and E7th. So starting here with the root on the 5th fret, what we got is this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about everything relating to this arpeggio pattern, and then you've got to work out how that works in all the other arpeggio patterns. Okay, you can work that out for yourself. So here we go. Over an A7th you play. Now you may listen to that and you might go, well, that's not very bluesy, that doesn't sound that exciting, and indeed it doesn't on its own. Doesn't sound that bluesy. So what's the first thing we can do to make that bluesy? Well, the very first thing and the most important thing is the third. Every time you play the third as a passing note, always play the minor third before it. So whenever you play the, always go every time. So minor third to major third. Again, here, so what you end up with is this. And immediately that sounds more bluesy. So. So don't think of that as part of the scale. Think of the minor third to major third as a passing note. The minor third would be a passing note. So how you do that is minor third there, slide up to the 3rd, 5th, dominant 7 root, minor third, hammer on the major third, fifth, seventh, root. Okay, so as a little practice, just something you could do is this little riff. Just do that, which is a kind of okay. So every time, there's no exception to that. Always put the minor third before the major third. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a few bends. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend the minor seventh to the root, okay, like this. Okay, all of a sudden it starts sounding really, really bluesy. Yeah, okay, so the next thing we're going to do is on the top string. We didn't include this in the arpeggio, but what we're going to do is there's your root, there's your major third there. And so we're going to do it. So we're going to bend the C to the C sharp. Okay, so we're introducing a bend on the top string. So the root, we're bending the minor third to the major third, or the C to the C sharp. Okay, so we've just introduced those little tricks with this, that, and okay, just those simple tricks. We've gone from this basic arpeggio of the chord tones basically, it sounds really bluesy. So if you set up a little vamp, okay, sounds really bluesy, sounds really interesting, and that comes about of playing just the chord tones from the dominant 7 chord. Okay. A couple of other things you can do is use chromaticism. Okay, and what does that mean? That means filling out the gaps. So one thing I love to do is between the dominant 7th and the root. So you go. I like to fill out the gap. Another thing I did there is I did the 4th. So it's kind of like it's a jazz technique called targeting, where you got the major third, I play a note above it, a note below it, the minor third. Another chromatic run is the major third up to the 5th. So okay, chromaticism's great, just filling out the notes between the chord tones. So you can do that to any 2 notes that you like, really. So 4, there I went down to the minor 7th down there. So in there, what I did is added a touch of the blues scale. So I mixed up the blues scale with the arpeggiation. Okay. So there's your ideas. Let's just recap on that. The first idea: every time you play, first of all, you've got to learn your chord tones. You've got to learn your arpeggios. You've got to know where the arpeggios are. Okay. So once you've done that, root, 3rd, 5th, 7, root, 3rd, 5th, 7, root, okay, and then 3rd up there if you like. Then, every time you play a major third, as a passing note, play the minor third before it. And then, bending. Bending, very important blues construct, where you bend the minor 7th to the root. Okay, then up here, there's the major third there. So you bend the minor third to the major third. Chromaticism, just filling out the notes between the chord tones. There, we've added the fourth. Okay, and they're basically the ideas to make the arpeggio kind of sound more interesting. The other thing you need to do now is when the chord changes, you've got to change with the chord. So when the chord changes to a D, you've got to change to D as well. So okay, so what I did there, I was playing around there, but when I went to D, I jumped up to the original D root and I was playing around this. That D 7th arpeggio there, starting on the 5th string. And using all those those different techniques. Okay. There you go. I hope that's useful. Learn those arpeggios. Yeah, we'll be back for more very soon.